good day, pre-algebra. We are coming up on our first PO of the unit. It also happens to be the final objective on which you will not be able to keep a calculator on the test. Okay. The idea for this is to do this mentally. I'm going to show you some methods that are not mental. But if you can get to that mental math piece of it, that'll benefit you going forward. But anyway, no calculator on this objective of the test. Everything after this, you will be able to choose one. So finding a percent of a whole number. An example of this, she took 20 shots and she made 30% of them. How many shots did she make? The test was worth 30 points and she got a 90%. How many did she get correct? The bill at the restaurant was about $40. I left a 15% tip. How much was the tip? So questions such as this, where it's like 30% of 20, 20 being that whole number, right? 90% of 30, okay? And then we even get into a little bit with kind of the 5% there, 15%, something like that. Yeah.
So for the first one, wouldn't it be 0.30 times 20?
So we'll talk about different ways to do it. 0.30 times 20 will work, but remember you're not going to have a calculator. So if you're not comfortable with multiplying decimals, that might not be the way you want to go. Okay, so we're going to talk about it using fractions. We're going to talk about it using percentages, and then we're going to do a multiplication method that's not that, but similar to it. Okay, so yes, that will work, but without a calculator, maybe you want to go a different route. Okay, so let's take a look at this. With the fractions, took 20 shots. I'm going to try and get them all on here. You have to remind me what the numbers are. 20 shots and made 30% of them. Okay. Essentially, we're trying to figure out what is 30% of 20. Okay, that's the question being asked here. What is 30% of 20? And using fractions as our method, we've talked about how to write 30% as a fraction before, haven't we? Yeah. What is 30% as a fraction? Okay. 30 over 100, which reduces to be
15 over 10, which is 3 over 10.
Nice job. Yeah. Okay. We can rewrite 30% as 3/10. That's why we have the objective of converting to fractions earlier. So we can do this now. Okay. And we've mentioned this before. That word of is what operation? Multiplication. And 20. How do we write 20 as a fraction? A whole number as a fraction. Haley? 20 over 1. So essentially the calculation that we're solving here is 3/10 times 20 over 1. Okay, we wrote 30% as a fraction and then put our 20 over 1. And this is something that we should be able to do mentally, right? How do you multiply fractions? Or what answer do you get from this if you've already done it? Lexi?
60 tenths, which reduces to 6 over 1.
Okay, so 3 times 20, multiplying straight across here, is 60. 10 times 1 is 10. So the fraction 60 over 10, or 60 divided by 10, reduces to be 6. She made 6 of the shots. That's something you can do mentally, right? Or if not mentally, then at least show the work to get there. Okay, but not having to resort to the calculator for calculations such as this is kind of what we're going after. Yeah.
So you just multiply straight across.
Multiplying fractions. Yep. Cross products is for division. Yeah. Colin.
When I had 3/10, I times both of them by 2, and I still got 6 over 20.
So you're thinking of more adding fractions when you need common denominators? Oh, wait. Okay. Sorry, no. So you converted 3/10 to 6/20ths?
Yeah.
And then you multiply that by by 20 over 1?
Well, no, 6 over 10. 6 over 20 was my answer.
Oh, okay. So you wouldn't double them and just leave it there. Okay. If you wrote 3/10 as 6/20ths, you'd still multiply by 20 over 1, which would give you 120 over 20, which still simplifies to be 6. Okay. So what you did wasn't wrong, but you don't want to stop there. The fact that you got, my brain is catching up to yours now. 6 out of 20 shots, is that what you're thinking? Okay, that works because if you simplify 20 and 10, you get that 2. So it worked in this case. I don't think it'll work in every case, though. You have to be patient with me. My slow brain takes a while to catch up to yours. Yeah.
What is so bad about using a calculator?
It's not that it's bad to use one. It's just that there are times when you don't have one available, and you don't want to be, crippled doing math because you don't have a calculator available.
Three,
There's a calculator.
there are 3 people in this classroom that do not carry a calculator around.
That's me.
Well, for those 3 people, I am here for them. That's why we're
yeah.
doing PO23.
Okay.
But there's a
Okay.
calculator.
Let's look at the folks. Let's look at the test example and practice this fraction method again here. Was it 90%
30.
of 30? Okay. Go ahead and use this method where we're writing 90% as a fraction and then multiplying by our whole. See what answer you come up with, and then just don't share it. Just keep it. But see if you can work through the process that we worked through. I want to erase what I did with Colin here, just so you can have what we originally did. Okay. How are we done today?
15.
15? Time moves so quickly. So 90%, you should have 90 hundredths. Probably reduce that to 9 tenths, which is why we always simplify fractions. Oftentimes it makes our calculations a little bit easier. The word of means we're multiplying. And then 30 over 1. Okay. What did you come up with here, Cole? 27. Right, 9 times 30, 270 over 10, which reduces to be 27. Okay, and if you simplify the 10 and the 30 here to get a 3, 9 times 3 is 27 there. Right, that's the answer to your question. Yeah.
What if you got like a 5 for like the denominator, like you did it and then it's like a 5?
Where would you get a 5?
Like on this one,
Oh, the next one? Let's not worry about that one yet. Okay. Questions on what we just did? Okay. Let's talk about the percentages method before we get to the tip. Right? When we're looking at percentages, going back to the question about the shots that she made, we're still looking for 30% of a 20. Right? And because this is a 30%, it's a nice round percentage. It's a multiple of 10%. We're actually going to break this down, and we're going to say, well, what's 10% of 20? We want 30%, but we're going to start with 10%. How do you figure out what 10% of a number is? Jack?
It's 2.
And how'd you get 2?
yeah.
Well, because 20 divided by 10 is 2.
Right. So essentially, if I want what's 10% of a number, what I'm asking you is what goes into that number 10 times, right? Because 10% goes into 100% 10 times. It's 1/10 of it. So if 10% of 20 equals 2, but we want to get up to 30%, how many 10% do we need? 3. So if I multiply 10% by 3 to get up to 30%, and I multiply 2 by 3, what do I get? 6, which is a good thing, because I got 6 for the last one too. Right? So the percentages method, and again, this was mental, right? We didn't use any calculators here. But because this 30% ended in a 0, we can kind of break it down to what's 10%, what goes into 20 10 times, and then work our way up to our 30%. So for the next one, where it's 90% of 30, okay? Again, because that 90 is such a round percentage, it's a multiple of 10, I'm going to break this down to 10%. What's 10% of 30, or what goes into 30 10 times? Why? 3. Okay? But I don't want 10%, I want 90%. So how many 10% do I need to get there? What are we going to multiply by to get to 90%? 8?
9.
Multiply by 9.
Then he was by 3.
Right? 10% times 9 is 90%. 3 times 9 is 27. Okay, this one especially, that percentages method, this is the one that is the most mental of, fractions versus percentages. This is one where if you can get used to it, practice it, you can come up with these percentages very, very quickly. Right? Shane.
What if it's a not so even percentage?
What if it's a not so even percentage? We'll get to that in just a little bit. Right, we got one more method to talk about that I think you'll just find as well. Actually, you know what? Let's actually save that one for last. Save the best for last. Blake.
So these are just methods, and we're actually finding the percent of whatever.
We are, yeah. If she took a 30 question test and got 90% on it, that means she got 27 questions right.
But you could do that doing like this method, the fraction.
Yes, they both get you the same solution. People's brains think a little bit differently. Some people really like fractions. Some people can do this quickly. It's just different ways to get to the same result. Camille.
Can you turn the Christmas lights on?
Not right now, because we only have 10 minutes left, and so I gotta get that. Okay. So what if we're dealing with a not quite as friendly percentage? What's left? 15% of 40. Okay. 15% of 40. Using the fraction method, right? We're gonna have to write that 15% as a fraction. We can start with 15 hundredths, but what does that reduce to be? What is 15 hundredths in simplest form? Full?
3/50.
Not 3/50ths. You're right with a 3 though. We can get that far. Dayton? 3/20ths. Okay? So 3/20ths, instead of, we're going to make the multiplication symbol, right? Because that's what it means. And 40 over 1. This one isn't quite as clean as the others. 3 times 40 is 120. 20 times 1 is 20. What's 120 divided by 20? What does that simplify to be? Griffin? 6. Okay, so you left a $6 tip. Right? So not quite as easy as when it's a 10%, but it's still very doable. Very doable. Percentages, if we want 15% of 40, we're still going to start with 10%. What's 10% of 40? Sophie? 4, right? What goes into 40 10 times? How do you suppose we get that 5%? 15% isn't as clean as a 30% or a 90%, doesn't end in a 0. But, 5% is still not the worst thing you can have. But if we know that 10% is 4, how can we calculate what 5% of 40 is, John?
I know that the answer is 2.
5% of 40?
Yeah.
And how do you do that?
Because 10% is 4 and 5 is half, so it's just half. So
Yeah.
5 that by half.
Yeah, if we know that 10% is 4 and 5% is half of 10%, doesn't it make sense that 5% of 40 would be 2?
Yeah.
Right? Who said no? Why does it not make? Where's it losing it?
It just doesn't make sense in my mind.
Well, if it makes does it make sense to you that 10% times 3 gives you 30%?
Yeah.
And that 6 is 3 times 2, because if we do 10% 3 times, we get 30% or 6.
Yeah.
It's the same thing, only going with division, right? If 10% of 40 is 4, we divide that by 2, we take half of it to get 5%. We can take half of 4 to get 2.
I get it.
Right? Clearly you were not the only one that was having trouble seeing that. That's okay. And so now, what do we have here? We have 10% plus 5%. What's 10% plus 5%? There's our 15%. And 4 plus 2, there's our $6 tip that we got in the last one.
Yay.
How do you close to?
How do you get 10%? 10% of 40 would be what goes into 40 10 times. Or 40 divided by 10.
Oh.
I get it.
Okay?
This is
I got the 2. Folks, once we knew that 10% of 40 was 4, Carter, warning for you. Just say okay. 10% of 40. I mean, there was noise coming from that area. It couldn't have been the one with 2 warnings already.
Nope.
That would just not make any sense. Why you would want to get the 30 and get hit. So, I mean, it's just if I got it wrong, I apologize, but now the whole area is quiet. So, message received. Anyway, so we know that 10% is 4, right? And so if we got the 10% to be 4, 5% being half of 10%, our value is going to be half of 4. And that's where the 2 came from. Okay? If 10% of something is 12, 5% would be 6, half of it. If 10% of something is 30, 5% of that would be 15, half of it. Okay? Questions on this? Camille?
I still don't get how you get to
So,
right here.
do you agree that 10% is equal to 5%? Let me write this so you can actually see it. Do you agree that 10% is equal to 5% plus 5%?
Yes.
Okay? So if we know that 10% is 4, right? We established that here, right? Do you know how we got the 4? Okay? So if 10% is 5% plus 5% and 10% is 4, what 2 of the same number add to be 4? 2 and 2. So if I want what 5% is, well, 5% has to be 2. Okay? Let's say, different example here. Let's say that we knew that 10% was equal to 18. Right? 10% is 5% plus 5%. What would each of those 5% have to equal? Well, 10 plus 10 equals 20. We have to get to 18. These 2 numbers here have to add to be the value of what 10% is. If 5% plus 5% is 10%, and we know that 10% is 18, then these 2 numbers have to add to be 18. And they have to be the same. So what would that be? 9. Right? So once you know what 10% is, just like how you can get to 30% by tripling it, because 10 times 3 is 30, you can get to 5% by taking half of it, because 10% divided by 2 is 5%. Anybody else struggling with that?
How are you supposed to get
This is a separate example from what we have here. Okay?
I know nothing to be related.
So, Jeffrey, do you agree? That 5% plus 5% would equal 10%? Okay. So if we know that 10% is 18, because remember that's what we found first. We found what 10% was first, right? If 10% is 18, then 5% would have to be half of that.
Okay, yeah.
Not enough.
I thought you were doing the thing where.
No, different color is a different situation. Yeah. Anybody else need me to go over it again?
Yeah, I'm joking.
Quinn.
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. So, Quentin, do you agree that 10% is equal to 5% plus 5%? Of course. So, if I told you that 10% of a number was 24, I asked you for 5% of that number, what 2 of the same number add to be 24? Well, 24 plus 24 would be 48. What 2 of the same number add to be 24, right? Because we know that 12. So 5% would have to be 12. If 10% is 24, and 5% plus 5% equals 10%, or 5% is half of 10%, then that value has to be half of 24. Good?
Yep.
Cade?
Why did the air conditioning on?
I don't control this. That's a question that is better served when we're not recording. Okay? Cade? See, by that question, look what just happened now. Now we've got
It's just cold in here.
Cade. Wear a sweatshirt.
I wasn't talking.
You were.
What?
You were talking to Evan. If I see your eyes looking at me, then I know you're not talking to the person behind you. If I see the back of your head and that person you're facing is talking to you, then you can understand why I would think that you are in a conversation with that person.
Okay.
Very good. If I see you looking at me, then I know you are not talking to the person back. If I see the back of your head and the person behind you is talking, what do you expect me to think? To you, and you would be talking back.
I'm supposed to say okay.
Right?
Okay.
Eyes locked on me, no problem. I see the back of your head, then we have a potential misunderstanding. Okay? Okay, so let's get to the multiplication method here, this last one. Did any of you notice a connection between 30%, 20, and the answer that we got of 6? Or perhaps 90% and 30, and the answer we got of 27? Anyone say like, oh, hey, that's kind of a nifty coincidence. I wonder if that happens every time. Liam?
Multiplying in both.
What do you mean?
In both equations.
Okay,
Multiply.
tell me more. Anybody else see anything? Lexi?
They're all divisible by 3.
Okay, that's true. Kylie?
I noticed every single one you're like multiplying.
Okay.
And different answers, like fraction and percentage.
Okay. What if I presented to you like this? We're looking for 30% of 20. Our answer is 6.
What? Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Oh my goodness, that's the easiest one.
No. Okay.
This is the easiest one. I'm using this one every single time. Well, that's like some TikTok.
It doesn't work. I saw this on TikTok. It doesn't work. Oh, I saw this on TikTok. It works for 5.
Where do you think the person on TikTok saw it? From my channel?
Oh.
Yes, like and subscribe.
Who is it? It doesn't work on
Now where kids get tripped up here is in the last one where it's 15% of 40, and the answer that we know is 6. Folks want to take 15 times 4, which is 60. What's actually happening here, and I've got to let you go, so I'm going to save this for tomorrow. Then algebra is no homework for tomorrow.